Do you see it moving? It's not moving.
It's not.
Hold on. It's not plugged in. Look at it yet. Is it that USB?
There, it's moving.
There she goes.
It just moved.
Takes a bit.
There, it's moving.
It may not work. It may not work.
The camera's not working.
It's on, but you may be able to hear it, not see it.
Okay.
Just go all the way down here.
At this time, I call
We'll
the
figure it out.
Truth and Taxation hearing to order. Please stand for the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
But they just can't see. She'll be late.
Brandon?
Here.
Erica? Yes. Andrew?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane, yes. Chad?
Yes.
Okay, the first item on this agenda is the tax levy and the Truth and Taxation hearing. The levy has already been shared, but it is now the time for any sort of public feedback. Mrs. Baker, do you have anything to add to that?
The only thing I would add that with the proposed tax levy, I would like to highlight that the rate would be reduced to 3.5579 from last year, which was 3.6492. So it's actually a decrease in our rate.
And then this item here.
Just read it.
Just read that line. And at this time, I disclose cash on hand information for per SB 1975, Public Act 102-0895 as of July 1st, 2022, legislative action.
We just have to make that announcement. I believe it's posted on our website.
It is, yes.
Okay. Are there any comments? There's no action at this portion of the meeting. The action will happen later in the regular business meeting. At this time, I'm looking for a motion and a second to adjourn the a motion and a second to adjourn the Truth and Taxation hearing. Motion by Erica,
Second.
second by Chad. Roll call.
Brandon?
Yes.
Erica? Yes. Andrew?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane, yes. Chad?
Yes.
Okay, at this time, I call to order the regular board meeting. Roll call, please.
Erica? Yes. Andrew?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane, yes. Chad?
Yes.
Brandon?
Yes.
The first item on our agenda, we have some special guests this evening. We have the EJHS softball team. They had an excellent season this season. And we are here to congratulate and commend you. I'd like to turn the floor over to one of our coaches, Ms. Lori Kester, and then is Jelena? Yes.
Yeah.
And Jelena Robinson.
Yes, thank you all for having us and recognizing us. I have the eighth graders wearing a different shirt that they will talk about what those shirts mean because the eighth graders were the back-to-back people. And the seventh graders are hoping for some back-to-back, right? But I asked them to state their name and their positions, if that's okay?
Yes, that's great.
These-
I'm Mackenzie Heights. I played left field and won back-to-back conference.
I'm Riley Wilson. I'm a catcher and I played first base, and we're back-to-back regional champs.
My name's Clay Bailey. I play pitcher and I play first base and we're back-to-back section champs.
I'm Madeline Hoffman. I played shortstop, and we're back-to-back state appearance.
I'm Kimball Smith. I play pitcher and first, and I with the state championship third place.
I'm Sophia Weidman and I play first base. I'm Chili Pat and I play center field. I'm Mia Harkey and I play third base. I'm Anna Gushnow and I caught and I played outfield. I'm Lonnie and I played outfield second base.
I'm Olivia Lawrenson. I played middle, infield, and outfield.
I'm Coach Robinson.
Well, it was an exciting season. We're very proud of you. So great job, ladies.
Thank you.
We're excited to see what our seventh graders do next year and what our eighth graders do in high school next year as well. And I always give all of our student athletes and club members, once they come to the board, just make sure that you thank your coaches and your parents for the help that they've given you, and I'm sure lots of advice and words of wisdom. So thank you from on behalf of the board. Thank you, coaches, parents, and not only do we have great athletes amongst us, but I'm sure we also have some really good students here too.
Yes. And the girls.
Yes, let's give them a round of applause. And we always get your picture when you're here.
Okay.
If we could have you kind of form here in the front, Michelle will take your picture. I'm just going to pull it.
Are you ready? Okay, I got Elsa.
Anybody else want to get up there? Hold on, some parents may want one. Okay. You're good, girls. Thank you.
Oh, one more thing.
Yeah, they got to shake hands.
That way a little bit. And then, we have you file through and shake all of our hands.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great job.
Congratulations.
Great job. Congratulations. Great job. Congratulations. Great job. Congratulations. Good job.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Good job. Congratulations. Good job. Congratulations. Good job. Good job. Congratulations. Good job. Congratulations. Good job. Congratulations. Good job, coach. This is the second time I've done that. Okay. I can't figure out how to make it fun.
The next item on the agenda is recognition of visitors. I don't believe we've had any, certain individuals contact the board to address the board, but I would like to just recognize that we do have some students here from, are you Mr. Hammer's class, right? Yes. The government class. So you're learning all about this board meeting process. So thanks for joining us tonight. The next item on the agenda is the financial report, and I'll turn that over to Mrs. Baker.
In fund balance, we're showing a 3% increase over last year with a net fund balance of $33,845,053.08. In operating funds, we're showing a 0.42% increase over last year with a net total of $27,537,245.81. Revenue we received this month, local revenue, we received $6,233,847. State, $724,846. Federal, $120,999. Those expenses over $5,000 are in your packet. And the recommendation would be to reimburse the imprest account in the amount of $2,440.04 and the payment of bills in the amount of $644,369.04. Does anyone have any questions?
Okay, there being none, I am looking for a motion and a second to approve the financial report to reimburse the imprest account in the amount of $2,440.04 and the payment of bills in the amount of $644,369.04. Have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Chad,
Second.
second by Erica, roll call.
Andrew,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes, Chad,
Yes.
Tisha,
Yes.
Brandon,
Yes.
Erica, yes.
Okay, and the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. You'll find minutes from a special board meeting on November 10th. Special board meeting closed session minutes from November 10th and regular meeting minutes from November 10th. Regular closed session minutes from November 10th. Special meeting minutes from December 3rd and special meeting closed session minutes from December 3rd. Attached also is the cafeteria report, student teacher list. We have one short-term field experience, practicum experience for grade 2 in Mrs. Wimmer's class. And as far as fundraisers go, we have the EHS Winter Guard selling ginger ales, EHS FFA selling strawberries from January 23rd to February 6th. The Central School PTO is accepting readathon pledges from January 30th to February 17th. And the Central PTO and Central Library is doing a book fair and art show on March 26th. Could I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Motion by Andrew,
Second.
second by Desha, roll call.
Jill,
Yes?
Jane, yes, Chad,
Yes.
Tisha, yes, Brandon,
Yes.
Erica, yes, and
Yes.
We have one item of correspondence from Becky Clark, a junior high teacher, regarding the passing of her dad and a gift from the board. Next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
So we'll start with the foundation report, and I see Talitha left already, didn't she? I should have introduced it. She's our liaison now with Mr. Schutte retiring. She's taken over this past fall. Could have her give a little bit more insight, but they met on the 10th of November. Appears they welcomed, because I believe you approved for this new director, Jennifer Hess and Kathleen Henderson. Lots of conversation about preparation for Breakfast with Santa, which took place a week ago last Saturday. I don't know if any of you made it there. I was fortunate enough to get in there and enjoy some pancakes and the atmosphere. They did an incredible job, as always. We really appreciate the foundation and all their efforts and what they do with that. So I don't know if anybody else has anything to add to that, but that would be the foundation report. Okay. Enrollment at this point right now, as of 11/30/2025, total enrollment is 2,308 students, which is the same as it was the previous month. So we had no movement this time. It's very uncommon. And it is 4 more students than the previous year at this time. Next is the FOIA request. We did have 2 FOIA requests. One of those FOIA requests was dealing with a procure, which is a pretty standard request that we seem to get probably
Quarterly.
2 or 3 times, okay, quarterly.
Mhm.
I was gonna say 2 or 3 times a year, so quarterly. Asking about,
Purchase orders.
yeah, basically purchase orders and vendors and things that we utilize. The second one is CT Mills. That one's asking for most current existing records listing active employees within your school district. Basically just asking for all employees that we have.
We denied that one.
Questions on that? Okay, I believe that is it for the superintendent's report.
Next item on the agenda is new business. And the first item under new business is the 2025 tax levy approval. The hearing was held earlier, as the budget and the levy has been posted for the last 30 days. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, I am then looking for a motion and a second to adopt the 2025 tax levy as presented. Motion by Chad, second by Erica, roll call.
Jane, yes. Chad?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Brandon?
Yes.
Erica? Yes. Andrew?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is the presentation of the 10-year HLS school building report. With us this evening, I'm sorry, could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Kim Kirkendorf. I'm an architect and associate with BLD Architects. I personally actually did your 10-year health life safety survey here on the 6 different sites. Thank you very much for having me. My intent is really to keep this high level and just discuss a little bit about the report. I understand the report has been shared with you to date. I did take a portion of it and print it out just because I don't have a presentation and didn't know if you'd have it in front of you. Basically this cover that you'll see here. So every 10 years, schools in Illinois are required to develop a safety survey report. That is of student occupied facilities at a minimum. For this year, one of the few that were due, Central Grade School, Early Learning Center, East Side Preschool, South Side Grade School, West Side Grade School, which is currently being used as a Fresh Start Treatment and Learning Center, and Effingham Junior High School. The high school was not included in the survey. The last survey was in 2022, so it was not due to one. You can do them earlier than 10 years, but they're required by law to be done every 10 years. So just a little bit about, I'm going to go through just a little bit about the methodology and then the findings, and then talk about next steps. So as we review the facilities, we're walking through every space. We're checking for egress, for firewalls, basically. We're in the event of a fire, what shuts down within the building. We're looking at systems that exist within the building as well. But just looking at anything that could potentially be a code requirement that is not being, that is out of code compliance. Additionally, as we're reviewing them, we're also looking at items that could potentially be funded via health life safety money as well. As we review the items, we classify them as into a category of their urgency. A being urgent, it's things that present an immediate hazard. And I will say that if there was something that I saw immediately, before we left the building, we talked about that as well. And so I will say that some things were already taken off the report just because they've already been accomplished. So examples of that are in the event of an emergency that students can egress, student, staff, occupants can egress safely out of the building, fire detection systems and that sort of thing, or if there's anything structural. The B required items are anything else that's basically a code required item to fix. Those, and I should say urgent, we usually classify those as, at least a year and under. And for required, really no more than 5 years. So you should look at a 5-year on just about everything on here unless it's marked as urgent.
C, recommended items. The law does allow you to have items that are not a code requirement. And those sort of things come in when it is related to energy conservation, security, repair of playground surfacing, sidewalks, bus lanes, that sort of thing, and accessibility. On this report, because they are just recommended C items, we have not included any of these on here, but those can be added at a later time. The caveat to C items is basically that you have to have allocated all items throughout the entire district, not just the building, before you utilize those funds for all the A and B items. So everything that's code required has to be taken care of first, or at least the money allocated towards those. So one of the things that we're doing as we're going through, as we're looking at the building codes, is, and it may seem interesting that it's done this way, it's the code that was in effect at the time the building was contracted for design. So a lot of times there will be a building potentially, I think there were maybe a couple different additions on some of these buildings. So there's a different code that's applicable to different portions of the building. So as we're going through those, we're basically looking at the codes that were in effect at that time. And if anything had changed in the meantime, we're also noting those. And then it's there's retroactive codes as well. So a lot of the codes, if you actually dig into the report that we presented, fall on kind of retroactive codes as well for like property maintenance. And by saying that, I'm not saying that the buildings have not been maintained. In fact, sometimes it's harder to find issues when they are, and that is the case here, that you guys have done a great job at maintaining the buildings in the school district. So I didn't include that sheet in your report, but if you really wanted to look at what codes are in effect, I included that in the large report. So just a little bit about the report itself. The report includes 3 things. The first one is a description of existing conditions, and that is basically a written document that talks about the systems that are in place in the building, the means of egress that are provided in it, anything from where your electrical service is coming in through where your fire extinguishers are and that sort of thing. The second portion of it is updated safety reference plans. Those go on file at the district office as well as the office of the facility that we reviewed, and we update the plans to show this is actually a snapshot of the day we walked through. This is what the building laid out as. Walls get added, doors get removed, that sort of thing, and room numbers change. So we go through and we also update those as we go. The third part then is if there's any findings. If we find anything that's out of code, we will make a note of those items. In the event there is a finding, then we discuss those with the district, as in what's the remediation, what do we recommend as far as making repairs to basically bring that back into code compliance. So as those are reported, you may have heard the word amendment. We would include amendment with the report. It is really a legacy terminology that's kind of outdated. I think the most common question I get is, what is an amendment? And that in the past, a 10-year survey would have the 3 items that I mentioned, the existing conditions, the drawings, and then findings. And then between those 10-year cycles, an amendment would be created. When the state moved everything online, they said the easiest way for us to do this is just to call everything an amendment that has a finding. So when I say amendment, it is really just the easy terminology that the state came up with when we're looking at leveraging and health life safety money as well as reporting it. So I did want to just touch base on the schools and a couple things that we found in there. The information that you have with the little bar charts in front of you is it really is just kind of noting what the dollar figures are on there. So Central Grade School, there are some A urgent items and B required ones that we've identified. You'll see in the full report that some of those items include, maybe there's a broken fire alarm device, or it's hidden, or it's doors and hardware that basically were difficult to open as we opened every door within the building and made sure it's shut. And so there's a few things that, just after use, wore out, and so we've identified some of those. There's also masonry cracks from building settlement, and we just kind of noted a bunch of those as we walked through, just to say, keep an eye on this one. Nothing was urgent as far as any of the cracks that we saw within the building, but we've identified where they are, and just to monitor some of those. The large item in there is about 1.2 million, and that's related to the work in the gymnasium. In the gymnasium, I think there have been issues in the past, but while we were on site, what we were identifying is possible trip hazards as the trim was coming up between it's a vinyl surface or a play court that you have in there, and then the wood floor on the side. In discovering and kind of digging into what may have caused some of this, we found that there's some asbestos-containing mastic underneath that gymnasium floor that has popped up. And so in order to basically address the floor where there's the possible tripping hazards, the floor needs to be abated. That gets, because it's in a friable state, it needs a full containment and a friable removal, which basically means you want everything out of the gym. And I understand, and I did witness some of the issues with bleachers kind of racking in and out, their original to the building as far as it looks to me. And so those would be removed along with the floor, because you have to access the floor and the asbestos that's underneath those bleachers. So that's a high ticket number, which is why it kind of skewed that original bar chart to the side.
And what's the asbestos in?
It's an adhesive underneath.
It's in the adhesive?
Underneath the wood floor. So basically there's a system of layers of floor down there, and it's attaching to the concrete. And so I believe.
So it's not in between the plastic and the wood, it's underneath the wood.
It's underneath the wood, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so it looks like in the past, and again, we try to construct as much as we can about what our theory is on their failure. I expect that there was water that entered that gym at one point in time, which basically made some of the boards pop. I think the solution at that time was to cut out that center portion of the gymnasium, lay some sleepers in there, and then put that plastic down there as let's get this done on a low budget, that sort of thing. And it's lasted for a lot of years. But if you look across the gym floor, you'll see some of those kind of irregularities, that it's not a smooth surface. And at the time when I walked through, there were tripping hazards along the immediate edges of those panels as well in there. But the big deal is really that asbestos that's releasing underneath there. So that would need to be addressed. We've got that in the required section as you're primarily on that upper surface, and so you're not directly affecting it, but because it is friable underneath, it's something that should be addressed. But we've given a 5-year clock on that one, so that in the next 5 years, it is a large ticket item. It should be considered.
If it were non-contained, it would be in an urgent A, and it is not right now.
Correct.
Correct?
Yes.
Good. Thank you.
What do you mean by that?
Means that it's not being,
Exposed.
nothing is erupting.
We can't see anything that has actually, released any materials within that gymnasium right now. Just know that that's actually, they've popped up. So it has that potential to basically, it's become more friable in the current state and basically go within the air, I guess, above the gymnasium floor. Additionally, and you'll see these on a lot of the report, is water damage to ceiling tiles and that sort of thing. And in the report, you'll see that we've basically said, okay, let's replace the tile that has water damage, just to prevent the spread of potential mold. And then also kind of investigate a little bit further. For example, in some cases, I suspect that it's basically a roof leak, and I think some are known. There were some roof projects that were happening while we were on site as well. And if for some reason you did want to leverage health, life, safety money for fixing things like that are a result of, I guess that are the cause of what you're seeing on the ceilings, then you could potentially do an amendment at that time. So at the Early Learning Center, again, there's a few fire alarm devices that were blocked. There's some furniture that needed to be moved out of the path of egress. The biggest item that I saw there was the mechanical and attic spaces used for storage. It was previously I'm not sure what that building was used for. It wasn't a school.
Printing company.
A printing company. And that was a mechanical space and used for that purpose. For a school, it's not appropriate to use it. It is not fire separated from the rest of the building. And there's no second means of egress in the event somebody actually occupied that space. What we saw right now is it almost looked like a commonly used location to come and get supplies from, as there were books set up almost like a little library. And so that was probably my biggest concern, is the use of that space is not allowed in an educational facility. Additionally, the entry canopy is in poor shape. It has deteriorated. I put about $100,000 in there as an estimate to replace that whole canopy, but the violation is basically the canopy's in bad shape structurally. And so I think that there will be some, in the interim, some adjustments made to that, but in the event you do replace it, it can be replaced with something that's lesser. For example, if you don't want to build back everything that's existing there. But this, and my giving dollars in here is basically, once approved from the state, they would give you the authority to raise health, life, safety money to fund these projects. Not that you have to use the whole dollar amount, you know what I mean? So is just giving you the authority to use it. Also, the multi-purpose room ceiling, there was some material flaking off of there. I believe that portion of the building was a warehouse. Most of the building had ceilings added, so you're not seeing potential debris that was falling off the ceiling. It is just a vinyl cover or plastic cover that's on the insulation. But that was flaking off, and I understand they eat in this space. And so we just made a note of that. That again, too, I have around $100,000 in there, but that includes installing a new ceiling in there. And that also brings the sprinkler heads down in there along with light fixtures and things like that. So again, in this building, there are some, what we've been seeing is typical water damage on ceiling tiles, whether it's from some of the, moisture, condensation, that sort of thing within the space. But again, just investigate a little bit further. I think that's pretty much the big things on the Early Learning Center. We saw this at a handful of schools, but the use of wedges to hold open doors and corridors. Generally, I like to tell people, if you don't see a sprinkler in the corridor, then it's probably a fire-rated passage. And by that, I mean, in the event of a fire, the code requires that you have all the doors will be able to shut on their own in the event of a fire, so that if somebody is egressing out of that path, then the fire is not spreading past those walls. So you'll see it pop up in a handful of these. It's just removing the holders on the doors, which is never a fun thing to tell teachers and students, just with kids free flowing in these spaces. But that was just a small item, and I will say that doesn't come into play as far as dollars, because it really, anything that is district labor, for example, pulling a block out of a wall, you cannot charge district labor to health, life, safety. There too, there were a few fire alarm devices that were missing. And the larger items were more about masonry and the stone that's on the outside of the building, because part of it is protecting the exterior envelope as we're doing these reports, and that making sure that water and different elements come into the building. But there's several stone sills that are allowing water in, so there's tuck pointing dollars in there as well. Southside's grade school. The boiler room is in a really poor shape. There is, and that's not actually included in these dollar amounts, and the only reason that is because you already have an amendment sitting out there to fix the walls that are in that boiler room, and that around the courtyard area, if you know what I'm talking about, where it's kind of a U shape there, where there's the stairs that go down to the boiler room. There's loose blocks, cracks, just about everything. Not a pleasant place to be with, but the good thing is students aren't typically in your boiler room, but it is something that needs to be addressed. So in this report, I did want to still reference that space is, when we saw it, it was in poor shape. But since you have an amendment already there, I basically said, once that work is complete, just reevaluate the space. And I assume that once that area is fixed and it's brought back into code compliance, if you won't find anything else, I assume it will all be done at the same time. There were also additional missing devices and doors that didn't quite operate. So a lot of them are going to just be kind of just making a few minor adjustments on those. And then, of course, ceilings as well. While we were on site, not as part of this survey, but separate from that, we did a temporary occupancy of the portable classrooms that are there. And that is renewed annually. But that was included separately then. But we did identify that in the report and show that on the site plans that we also updated.
Can I ask about the junior high?
Yes.
So that large number, the 2 million, that's mostly tuck pointing?
At the junior high?
She hasn't gotten there yet.
Oh,
She's still the south side.
I'm slow.
oh,
I'm
so
sorry.
south side was tuck pointing.
South side was tuck
Okay,
pointing,
good.
yeah.
I don't know how I
Buckle up.
heard you.
There wasn't too much. There wasn't too much there. But we just wanted to identify everything that we saw in there that could potentially cause.
I'm buckled.
I can skip to junior.
No, that's
I'll go to junior. So here we go. At the junior.
Okay.
The big dollar amount that you see in there is related to HVAC. The
Okay.
failure of some rooftop units.
That's what I
actually
thought,
$2
and then
million
I heard
of
tuck
that
pointing.
dollar
I was
amount.
confused.
So
Okay.
if you took out about that $2 million, you can see there wasn't that much left. Again, like the other ones, some fire alarm devices that we saw we didn't see, they were missing. There's some communication that's required at the elevator that they were in the process of working on as well. In the stage area, there's some boards that are missing. I think there was maybe an overlayment of some additional plywood surfacing, and there's some tripping hazards basically. So those were some of the more urgent ones in there, and then door functions. So again, doors sticking or potentially even being stuck open on the exterior of the building. But We also had some wet ceiling tiles. They were doing some work while we were there. It just happened to be raining at the time. But the largest item is that HVAC. And this isn't saying that that money needs to come from here. This is to get the authority to potentially access those health life safety funds if this is a means for replacement of that. So that would just be some rooftop units. I think we have 4 of them in that report.
Yeah, so basically, what you want to think about is, for instance, a hypothetical situation could be that if we have an entire system going that's not working, say we have 4 brand new ones or 4 that are working very well, and for some reason there's a 5th one that would need to be replaced, and let's say it falls into the category, back when this was installed, I pulled the data and basically it was about $500,000 per system. There are 5 systems up there. So that's $2.5 million for all of them. We don't anticipate, at least we hope and pray, the district would never be on the hook for $2 million worth of HVAC upgrades right now. But we could be on the hook for, let's say, one of those, which would be $500,000 or $700,000. And that, what she's talking about is she's covering that to be able to get that health life safety piece up to date. Does that make sense? Correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. And in the end, it is actually just the bottom total of all of the items on there. So in the event that, let's say you only address, well, I shouldn't say only address, you will be addressing these items. They are out of code compliance, but, you might spend $10,000 instead of $2.5 million, just depending upon how that.
What it takes to get it right.
Mhm.
We want to make sure it's right.
Yep. As far as West Side then, West Side grade school again, missing some fire detectors, some doors were not operating appropriately, and there's also some tuck pointing in that area along with the stone sills. There's a few that have broken, and they're allowing water within the building system. So, all in all, not too bad actually. I mean, not too bad, but we did identify some items.
Even though it sounds bad.
It sounds bad. But it is really, I know some of it's sticker shock, again, like the $2 million for the rooftop units, but.
But that may not be necessary, so.
Correct. So at this point, we have entered the information into IWAS, which is basically a system that the district uses to communicate with ISBE. We have processed it from our end and updated the existing conditions, the drawings, as well as the violations and the dollar amount. The state doesn't have access to it until it goes through the system. So next steps would be the district would be basically approving that they have, they agree the report is full or finished, basically that it's completed. And again, we've dated that this 2025, so that's your new start date for your next 10-year survey. And then from the district approves, again, asking also for that amendment, which is basically the health life safety dollars. It will go on to the Regional Office of Education. It will then go from them, after they review it, to the Illinois State Board of Education to review, and then finally get approval in the end. I do anticipate we will go back and forth on your behalf with the state if there's something that you they could potentially say, hey, reword this, or, just to make sure that everything is per the law, that it's written as they would like it to be. And then they also vet it against, is health life safety money approvable here per the law? And so we'll go back and forth with them on a few, and potentially, argue on your behalf that it is. And, all along the way, I seal the documents as I'm a professional with 27 years experience now doing these. And so just want you to feel comfortable of what we have here. and I'm certainly available for any questions.
And the dollar amounts are from your professional opinion, is that correct? Or do you consult for dollar amounts?
So as far as the dollar amounts are there, we did, and I don't believe I mentioned it, we have a consultant, GHR engineers who reviews the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection portion of it. So they assist us in those particular systems. Otherwise, we're using, estimating tools that we have, and then of course based on experience as well, estimating those. We don't have somebody independently coming in and reviewing the items, and some of them are, just kind of looking at, like we're probably going to tuck point this much of the building as far as the masonry, so just give a portion based on the general area. As you start to develop what those projects potentially are, and you really zero in on what they would be, then those numbers can be refined. I expect that we're on the high end of some of those, so that if you get approval to utilize that amount of health, life, safety, you can always use less. Also within there, and I believe it's in one of the notes where it gives the totals, is that we also include a 10% contingency. So let's say these are in this year's dollars, and maybe you do it next or the year after or whatever, that there's also some contingency that you're requesting in case you need to use it. They also have a line item for AE fees. Again, you don't always, many of these projects don't require an architect to or an engineer to work on them. But you do have a 10% on there too. So the final number on there is going to be what we generally estimated plus a 20%. And that just gives you some leeway as you're preparing what those ultimate projects are.
Noticed our high school was not part of the report.
Yeah, you had a current one from 2022, I believe it was. And so you're not due for one for a while. Some districts choose to have them all done at the same time to get them on the same clock. Some say, you know what, I don't want to identify these problems all at the same time and spread it out. You just need to have them done at least every 10 years.
Did VLDD do the assessment 10 years ago for these buildings? Do we know?
No, they did not. It was FGM Architects.
Do we have that report?
They're all in the Iowa system. I can get every report.
Just curious, because like issues with the floor at Central School, that's probably been
right
at least 10 years old, or the attic in question at Early Learning Center. I'm sure that was.
Yeah, I had the same questions.
Right, are these carried over from previous reports, is that possible?
Yes.
Or they were not identified.
Yes.
I know that the attic was identified in the previous report 10 years ago at the school you just mentioned. There were a few others I checked back on. That was one in particular because when I see something that really should not be utilized, I dig as much as I can to say, wait, did somebody else think that this was okay? And we also go back sometimes, and I don't know that I did necessarily in this case, but we also go back to potentially like the designer of a certain building to say, hey, is there something I'm missing that maybe, this corridor is okay the way it is? But we didn't get to that point at this district. But I did look back at the reports and I did see some of those. ISB may look at it and say that, hey, you already were allowed money in the last one. I did make a few extra notes within our report on some of those items that may have occurred at that point in time, but 10 years ago, the cost probably went up as well. But there were some that had not been addressed in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I'm trying to find Central's. I've not found it yet, but we've got, there's 50 to 60 minimally I'm sure there's even more than that. There's 50 found on this page. Because it almost stays in there historically.
Yeah, they moved everything online in, I think it was 2009, so that you could have 24-hour access in the system.
Right.
The problem is finding anything that was older than that because it's all paper copies within, distributed within different offices.
Does anyone have any other questions? We appreciate your time. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
explaining it, because I will have to say, I panicked a little bit when I saw the report. And so, you coming here tonight was very helpful.
Certainly, if you have any more questions, direct them to Mr. Johnson, and I'm sure he'll pass them along to me.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kim's presentation is informational at this point, but the board will discuss and approve the report at a future meeting.
We've got some time. Yes.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the final reading and approval to adopt press policy updates. Last month, if you recall, I read through each and every one of these. I hope you had the chance to look over those in the press updates. So at this time, I am looking for a motion and a second to adopt the following board policies as presented. Please bear with me. 2-120, 2-150, 2-270, 310, 350, 360, 410, 430, 480, 4-110, 4-140, 4-150, 4-160, 4-170, 4-190, 5-10, 5-20, 5-90, 5-100, 5-120, 5-185, 5-190, 5-200, 5-220, 5-280, 5-300, 6-20, 6-40, 6-60, 6-130, 6-135, 6-140, 6-160, 6-210, 6-220, 6-235, 6-240, 6-260, 6-270, 6-280, 6-300, 6-310, 6-315, 6-320, 7-10, 7-70, 7-130, 7-140, 7-150, 7-180, 7-190, 7-250, 7-290, 7-310, 7-315, 7-340, 8-30, and lastly, 8-100. May I please have a motion to adopt the following policies? Motion. Motion by Erica.
Second.
Second by Gesha. Roll call.
Jen,
Yes.
Gesha,
Yes.
Brandon, Erica. Yes. Andrew,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes.
The next item on the agenda is the maintenance grant submittal. I'll turn that over.
I'll discuss
to
that.
Mr. Johnson.
Every year annually for the last, I'm gonna say at least 3 or 4 years. I don't know for sure. It's probably gonna go back even farther. The state does a 50-50 match and gives up to $50,000 towards a maintenance grant project. And this year's maintenance grant project that I have encouraged the board to consider is the completion of the fence, perimeter fence at Southside Grade School. And that fence would be a, 6 foot, maybe 6 or 8 foot, 6 foot, all the way around. And it would have the black, if you've driven by that building, it will have the black slats in it. That's kind of a privacy fence, but will help us a little bit with some issues that we've had over the years as far as interference from the outside of the fence from people during the school day. So that will all be performed by our own maintenance staff. I really, to be honest with you, don't know that it will be $105,000. We just put it there as a ballpark. It could range anywhere from 80 to 105, in my opinion. But we will do that on our own. Probably not until the weather breaks.
Does anyone have any questions on it? Okay, could I please have a motion and a second to approve an application for the ISBE maintenance grant to replace the fence at Southside Elementary School? The total cost estimated is $105,000.
Motion.
Motion by Andrew,
Second.
second by Brandon, roll call.
Desha,
Yes.
Brandon, Erica. Yes. Andrew.
Yes.
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 The next item on the agenda is closed session. There are 4 items on the agenda to consider in closed session. The first one is the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district. The next item is student discipline. The other items are collective negotiating matters between public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. And the last item is litigation and action against or affecting on behalf of the particular body has been filed or pending before court or administrative tribunal when public finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the finding shall be reported and entered into the minutes of the closed session. Could I please have a motion and a second to go into closed session?
Motion.
Motion by Andrew,
Second.
second by Erica, roll call.
Erica. Yes. Andrew.
Yes.
Jill.
Yes.
Jane, yes. Chad.
Yes.
Desha.
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes.
So that includes the public part of the meeting. Thank you for joining us this evening. And now, thank you.